Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane is official for UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi, and there is a very obvious problem, if you would like to call it that. Tom Aspinall has an unbelievable amount of pressure on himself for this fight. As we all know, Jon Jones beat Gane easily. It wasn't even a problem. Also, if you remember correctly, Gane was actually a favorite when the betting first opened for that fight. Eventually, the amount of bets that came in on Jones turned him into the favorite, and he dismantled Gane easily. And now, the narrative is that Jones ducked Tom, which is true. The belief is that if the number one contender was anybody else other than Tom, that Jones would still be fighting, which is also probably true. But the perception of Tom now is an unstoppable fighter in the weakest division of the UFC. While every other division feels it has gotten better in the past 10 years, heavyweight feels as if it hasn't progressed or has actually gotten worse. This puts a tremendous amount of pressure on Tom. Not only is he expected to beat everybody in that division, he's expected to do it in a spectacular fashion. However, this would be my advice. Don't focus on beating Gane more impressively than Jones. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about beating him more impressively. Tom could do that, obviously. He's never been out of the first round, so knocking out Gane in the first 2 to 3 minutes is obviously in play, but don't press for it. Gane is the most technical fighter that Tom will probably ever fight in the heavyweight division. He doesn't possess the power that other guys do, but in terms of striking, he's as technically sound as it gets in the heavyweight division. You want to know what's worse than beating Gane less impressively than Jones? Losing to him. Can you imagine the tweeting rampage that Jones will go on if this happens? Be prepared for Jones to send out 100 tweets talking about how he was right all along. Tom is a nobody who hasn't earned the right to fight him. He's just a hype train who's supposed to be the guy to beat Jones, but never be able to do so. He's probably already got the tweets lined up. He was doing something similar when Blades and Tom were about to fight. He was saying how he wouldn't be surprised if Blades won. Do I actually think Jones thought Tom would lose? No, but I think he wanted to put it out there in case he did, and he will probably do the same for this fight. And this is exactly why there is so much pressure on Aspinall. There are many fans who don't know much about Tom, apart from the fact that he's the guy that Jones doesn't want to fight. He's the big thing at heavyweight, and well, if Jones is running away from him, then he should easily beat the guy who Jones easily disposed of. And just to be clear, although this may be the fight with the most pressure for Tom, the pressure won't go away with the win here. The pressure will just continue to follow him. If he were to fight Gelton Almeida, then if he's able to take Tom down and keep him there, then fans will say that Jones would have been able to do the same. And just a little extra note on this card, which is a really good thing actually, it seems that Volkov vs. Gane is also on this card. That will be a number one contenders match, so Tom will already know his next opponent. He wants to be active, so to have his next opponent be on the same timeline as him is perfect. Of course, I don't feel like Gane beat Volkov in his last fight, and judging by his reaction, Gane himself didn't think he won either. But at the end of the day, the judges decided that Gane won the fight, and the UFC obviously won't give Volkov a title shot coming off of a loss. It's also why this Gane fight makes sense, but it's also risky at the same time. It makes sense because Gane was the guy who Francis went to a close decision with before Francis ended up leaving the UFC. It's who Jones fought for the vacant title, so it's only right that Tom fights him as well. They have history, obviously. Tom has been calling him out for a while now. He was even front row at a Gane fight in Paris, hoping that Gane would call him out, but he refused to do so. This fight has been a long time in the making, and it will only be hyped up even more due to the whole Jon Jones saga. But can you just imagine the memes that will be made of Tom holding the duck if he were to lose to Gane? Another problem with this fight for Tom is this one thing that I think I heard Chael say, and it was that the best opponent is a fighter who is propped up to be really good, but you know isn't very skilled. That way a win over them will get you all the praise and a loss won't come with much criticism. The worst opponent possible is one that you know is a lot better than what the public perceives. That may be exactly what's going on here. Gane's PR is at an all-time low right now. People don't think of him very highly at all. I remember how Gane was viewed before the Francis fight, and even after the Francis fight. He had a legit argument over beating Francis. And like I said earlier, this was enough for him to open up as a betting favorite against Jones. But now with how he lost to Jones and everybody saw that fight, people that have seen this fight haven't seen Gane's best moments. That's all they know him for, the guy who got his ass kicked by Jones at heavyweight. And now for Gane's last fight to be a robbery win against Volkov, his reps remains at an all-time low. Tom can't afford to lose to him. He won't get the benefit of the doubt because it'll be Jones beat him. It doesn't matter how good Gane is. I don't think the casual fan views it that way. He has to run through Gane, or like I said earlier, he doesn't even have to run through him, he just has to beat him. He can't lose. And perhaps that's exactly what Gane needed. The least amount of pressure possible. There's still pressure on him because he will be 0-3 in title fights with the loss right here. But when everybody believes that you're just a lamb going out to slaughter, how much pressure could you possibly have? Nowhere near the amount that Tom will have. Ultimately, this will be one of the biggest heavyweight fights, but not in the typical way that a fight would be considered big. Usually, you have trouble picking who will win that fight, but that won't be the case here. The talk during fight week will be about how fast Tom will finish Gane. Will Tom finally make it out of the first round of the fight? The most referenced fight during the build-up will be Jones versus Gane. I expect both Aspinall and Gane to be asked many stupid questions during their media days and during the press conference. Tom seems like a guy who needs a chip on his shoulder, but it won't exist here. I think he will be hearing nothing but praise all of fight week. Now he can manufacture that chip, but he will not be doubted in this fight. There will be people cheering against him, but that doesn't mean that they believe he will lose and they don't believe he's a good fighter. At UFC 321, Tom Aspinall will be in the biggest fight of his career, with all of the MMA world watching, expecting him to make easy work of his toughest opponent yet. The ultimate pressure will be on.